Altså, når jeg var et ung menneske i 70'erne, der var det sådan.
Ah, no, muy está bien.
Está que más que florecita, sea un dibujillo al que lo represente, pero hay place.
Ah, bueno. ¿Dónde lo puedo pegar? ¿Lo pego por ahí o lo quieres llevar a la normal?
¿Qué pasa encima de ti?
O sea, como lo de... No, la del 19.
Dette er Voice-bag tilhører.
Yo creo que van a ver. I potem vaig a buscar la meva bossa, això sí. Pues sí.
just me in the middle of a sea full of faces, full of faces. Some laugh, some salivate, what's in your alleyway? Recycling bins or bullet cases? It's not equal, it's not fair. We're different people, but we're not scared. We ain't never scared to pave it.
Here is pretty crap, so if you gather around, it's going to be easier for my boys and for everybody else's. Come on, move your feet and your ass will follow you.
Usa el megáfono, tío, y si no...
Ya, pero es que precisamente lo que se Can you actually hear me?
Yes.
Coolness, because I hate that thing. So,
It doesn't hate you.
that's what she said. It's actually really, really nice seeing so many people here today. When we were in the meeting on Wednesday, trying to organize the small infrastructure for this, we were like, how the fuck, there's going to be just the 10 of us, and then a people of friends that really love us, but they don't trust us and all this. So it's really, really nice to see so many people. This square is big, but if we were somewhere else, you would really realize I've been counting, we are about 200-300 people. It doesn't look like, but we actually are. So the idea for today, apart from having some fun, was giving a bit of information about what's going on these days in Europe, especially in Spain and in Greece. That seems to be the places where things are boiling and sparkling a bit more. And then we wanted to hold a small assembly where we will decide about making our own manifest, the manifest of Copenhagen, about why are we here, what matters to us, and what are the next steps we want to take. So we're going to make a small information round, and then we all will try to discuss about this small document that will be a bit like our signature. And after that, we will decide what's the next action we are going to take. If we are going to meet here next Wednesday, if we are going to make a party on some bank, whatever, right? But the important thing is, like, you all have come here, now you all have to use your voice. Okay, so Tim is going to read a small document that we've been working on, and then some information.
Okay, thank you for gathering, everybody. I'll just read this statement put together by everybody. We are ordinary people, all of us gathered here. And we've all gathered here because we're angry about the political, economic and social outlook which surrounds us. The corruption amongst politicians, businessmen and bankers, leaving us helpless and with a bleak future. Once more, our European leaders have acted against the interests of ordinary citizens in favour of financial corporations and institutions. On the 27th of June in Brussels, every government represented in the EU will gather to codify and sign the Euro Pact, a socio-economic agreement for the international alliance according to which the countries of the European Union will legislate in line with the dictates of the International Monetary Fund, the European Central Bank and the World Bank. The Euro Pact is the way chosen by the EU heads of government to implement their economic governance plan. This means, among other things, cutting wages and social spending, eroding social protection models, and which will invariably result in greater job insecurity. Constitutionally enshrined the straitjacket of the Stability Pact, the pact imposes control on deficits, 3% of GDP, and debt up to 60%. And with this, the pro-cyclical nature of economic policy. It will apply greater fiscal regression and the shrinking of the public sector, leading to further privatization of public services. Thus, member countries are reducing the margins of popular sovereignty and that of economic, social, and labor policies, which we will have to adapt to in the absence of significant political and social upheavals, and these will be practically irreversible. So, we're here gathered because we want a Europe that meets the needs of workers and ordinary citizens, not a Europe of war and private capital. So now we're all here gathered together for this assembly, so let's discuss and plan on how to build a mass movement capable of challenging and taking back the power.
Vi tager det på dansk også. Jeg tager lige brillerne på. Der er danskere, der ikke forstår engelsk. Der skal jeg holde den ind.
A little technical problem.
Nå, okay. Hvem er vi? Er der mange, der spørger? Fordi fjernsynet har jo ikke vist noget, radio har ikke vist noget, så vi skal vide det ude på Demokrati Real eller Real Democracy på nettet. Det er manifestet på dansk, for dem der ikke. Vi er almindelige mennesker. Vi er som dig. Mennesker, som står op hver morgen for at studere, arbejde eller for at finde et job. Mennesker, som har familie og venner. Mennesker, som arbejder hårdt hver dag for at give en bedre fremtid til dem omkring os. Nogle af os anser os selv som progressive, andre som konservative. Nogle af os er religiøse, andre er ikke. Nogle af os har klart definerede ideologier, andre er apolitiske, men vi er alle bekymrede og vrede på grund af det politiske, økonomiske og sociale landskab, vi ser omkring os. Med korruption blandt politikere, forretningsmænd og bankfolk med mere. Det efterlader os hjælpeløse uden en stemme. Endnu en gang har europæiske magthavere taget en beslutning, der er imod befolkningens interesse og til fordel for store finansielle selskaber. Den 27. juni vil alle europæiske regeringer underskrive Europakten i Bruxelles. Europakten er en socio-økonomisk aftale om en international alliance, hvor EU-landenes lovgivning skal følge krav fra den internationale valutafond, IMF, den europæiske centralbank, ECB og Verdensbanken, WB. Jeg vil gerne her indføre, at selvom vi har kronen, så er vi linket til euroen. Og de kan lukke grænserne, vi er stadigvæk med. Europakten er den måde, EU-regeringslederne har valgt at gennemføre deres økonomiske politik på. Dette betyder blandt andet lønnedgang, nedskæringer på velfærden, underminering af velfærdssystemer og indføring af større jobusikkerhed. Pagten pålægger kontrol med underskud 3% af bruttonationalproduktet og gæld 60%. Den vil medføre større økonomisk nedgang og en indskrænkelse af den offentlige sektor. På den måde reducerer medlemslandene befolkningens bestemmelse over økonomisk, social og arbejdsmarkedspolitik. Der i stedet skal tilpasses institutionaliserede kriterier, som vil være umulige at rulle tilbage i praksis. Dansk presse, radio, tv informerer dig ikke.
Okay, yeah. Here the fellow Victor is going to tell us now a bit more details about what this Europact is about and about what's been going on today in Spain. It's been pretty awesome. And then we have some fellows from Greece that will tell us something else about the rest of the European movement. So, go ahead.
Okay. Hi everyone, thank you for coming. I think it's amazing that we are like 200 people gathering here to just complain. We are starting the gathering and complaining because, as you may know, this maybe started in Spain, although France, they mobilized before, and Greece and Portugal and Italy. But in Spain, it was just the spark who started the fire. But the thing is not a problem, it's not only a Spanish problem, it's a European problem. The Europact, that's a real problem, because it's going to be the biggest neoliberal attack against the state, the welfare state, and all our rights in the last probably 30 years, 40 years. And they are doing it without asking us. They didn't ask us if we want that. They just do it. They took us as a fool. It's amazing. So we are here because we realize that the problem is the system. We realize that it doesn't matter if we vote for them, for different parties every 4 years. It doesn't matter the party, it doesn't matter the politicians. The problem is the system. They don't hear. They just listen to the banks, to the enterprises. So that's the Europact. The Europact is going to be, instead retirement at when you are 65, it's going to be 67. Then your salaries are going to be cutting down. Salaries for the civil servants. They are gonna cut our rights as labor rights, strike rights, like rights to fight for the level of the salaries. They just want to earn more money, but they want to earn more money, making us make less money. So that is totally unfair. So that's the reason people is mobilizing now. Today, I think it's like 97 demonstrations around Europe, a lot of them in Spain. The demonstration this morning in Madrid was amazing. There were 6 columns coming from different points of the city and gathering next to the parliament. They said that it was around 1 million people, probably not 1 million, but 500,000 people there. And now, at 7, there were another 97 demonstrations around the world. Latin America, Europe, North America, Asia, Africa. maybe.
Yes, it was.
So we are showing them that we don't like them. We don't want this system. There's no any change you can make in the system. What you have to do is to make another system. So now that's the reason we are organizing assemblies, to show them that we don't need their representation. We can represent ourselves. So that's the reason every demonstration is finished in an assembly where everything is decided. All decision is made by the assembly. It's not people representing anyone. There's no groups. Everyone speaks by themselves. So that's the idea. That's the reason people is mobilizing in Spain and around Europe. And that's the reason we should keep working together. And I just want to finish like Rage Against the Machine said, we are taking the power back.
He's coming from Greece. He's been living here for a while, and he's going to tell us a bit more about what's been going on in Europe and in Greece, because they have also kind of a revolutionary history.
So, hi to everybody. What is happening now in this Europact? So, let me give some information that you will probably not hear from the media. But the situation in Greece and the reasons that caused this situation. As a small introduction, I have some numbers. Today the unemployment in Greece is practically at more than 20% in general, and among young people it is at about 40%. Starting salary for young people was reduced in the name of competitiveness from like 5,200 krona to 4,200. This number is not per week, it is per month. Labor conditions in Greece are quite depressing. The high unemployment rates and the lack of real welfare benefits for unemployed people favor phenomena like black labor, unpaid overtime, non-existent vacation rights. A lot of small companies closed down in the last 2 years, and related to that, the rate of suicides due to debts increased dramatically, despite the to 49 until the military dictatorship between 1967 to 74. During this period, there was no real political stability. At the same time, extensive internal migration took place. Half of the Greek population ended up living in Athens, in the capital. So in 1981, Greece entered the European Community. The European Union membership appeared as a good opportunity for the country's democratization and economic advance. Yet, due to lack of an adequate democratic policy as well as culture, in combination with the EU's emphasis to pursue the economic interests of the most powerful members, created further controversial situation. On one hand, corrupted political elites used different funds in the same way they used the public sector, that means as a means to bribe citizens. On the other hand, European Union economic policy priorities provided funds for particular kinds of infrastructure related to the opening of markets in the country. As an example, Greece highways were extended using European money, when at the same time railways remained underdeveloped. This was a policy favorizing automobile manufacturers but not the public. Another factor is that after the fall of the East Bloc, cheap labor was made available in neighbor countries, and big part of the already weak production of the country migrated to other cheaper countries, and Greek capitalists and neo-rich, obeying the laws of free market and demand and offer, looked for new opportunities to more competitive countries. The Greek economy in the 90s seemed to go relatively well in numbers, so well that with a bit of boosting by international finance experts like Goldman Sachs, Greece ended entering the Eurozone. The reality. But national pride and glory made people forget about these concerns quickly. The size of the public services in Greece is often presented as a weakness of the Greek economy. In reality, it is only 22% of the population that is employed in the public sector, less than in many other countries. The real problem of the public sector in Greece relates to the democratic deficit of the country. Politicians used the public sector as a party infrastructure in order to maintain and expand their voter pools. During all these years, corruption remained or even increased in all levels. European and international corporations like Siemens and various weapon manufacturers and pharmaceutical industries even took profit of this situation. All these years, huge amounts of money were wasted in weapons. German tanks and submarines, French warships and war airplanes and munition from United States were imported massively. You will probably not hear information like this in the media. In the bank crisis of 2008, Greece participated, of course, in the bank bailout program, supporting the bank sector with public money. Some words about the actual Greek crisis. At the end of 2009, the bad economy of the country, in combination with a certain economical war from the financial markets, led to the collapse of the Greek economy. This was announced a few days after the resignation of the previous government and the election of the current one. The current government, before all the elections, claimed that there is enough money. This was said literally by the current president. Directly after its election, the government started implementing exactly the opposite, with the justification of the financial collapse that was kept suppressed until the elections. Greece had actually two possibilities at that moment: either to go officially bankrupt or to enter a perpetuate circle of credit and debt. The government opted for the second choice and practically handed the governance of the country over to the credit givers. At this moment, all important decisions are taken by financial organisms like the European Central Bank and the IMF, with the Greek government just implementing their decisions. The austerity measures imposed so far during the first year of the crisis by the credit givers, IMF and European Central Bank, was clearly against the lower and middle classes, the classes that are less responsible for the bad economy. Increase of VAT, for example, gasoline in Greece became the second most expensive in Europe. Salaries and pensions reduction, merging of schools, cuts in education and health system, blocking of hiring new public employees are some of the measures that have already been income of the country and reduced the unemployment was taken. This is abstractly expected to be regulated somehow by the market. Right now, in a second phase, the credit givers are demanding even harder and more absurd measures. Privatization of profitable public companies, sale of public property for ridiculous prices, and firing of public employees are supposed to improve the situation. Great masses of people from very different ideological and political backgrounds starting demonstrating against this second phase of austerity measures that are about to be voted in the next days in the parliament. People took squares in Athens like people from Spain, but not only in Athens, Thessaloniki and other cities was also participated. Hundreds, thousands of people participated in these demonstrations and strikes in the last months. More and more people recognize that the measures proposed by the credit givers are not helping to solve the real problems, like the corruption, the very low productivity and the unemployment. The new loans end up completely in paying interest for previous loans instead of contributing to the development of the country. It is a typical perpetual debt situation. Some predictions for the near future, since no real development of the productivity and the income of the country has been planned, the debt will probably keep increasing until official bankrupt or some other indirect way of cutting part of the debt. Corruption will remain the same, since not even a single person went so far to jail, and European governments keep collaborating with the very same persons that brought Greece to this situation. Outwards immigration of productive and qualified workers will lead to even worse chances for real development in the interior of the country. Privatizations in education will lead to even higher economical and educational gap between social classes, increasing phenomena like corruption, criminality, nationalism, racism. Some solutions and ideas that we could mention. A real democracy needs ways to control politicians, bankers and investors. The current financial political system is not capable of doing anything against corruption. Bankers, politicians and investors, they undergo not justice control, at least not until they try to fuck people not only metaphorically but also literally. We have to fight against the increased demands for absurd competitiveness all over Europe, all over the world. This is Europact. And the solutions will not come from the established systems, but from us, the people. Thank you.
Bravo.
The song you have here might have some tough, sometimes even difficult to understand. They sound like from a place far, far away from Denmark, or far, far away from our lives.